All right. Hey, everybody. It's the ABC Always Be Cool podcast with actually our friend ABC, Mr. Alan Christian. What's the middle name?
Brett.
Alan, Brett, Christian, ABC. So what a fitting
Dude, how cool was that?
guest
right?
for the day.
I saw that the
I'm
other
kind of
day.
mad I didn't steal that from y'all.
I saw that the other day. He's like, wait a minute. My initials are ABC. Like, really?
That's right.
My initials really ABC? So that's awesome. So we'll do a quick intro.
Yeah.
Alan, this is what we do for people. So we've known each other for several years.
Oh, yeah.
So everyone, we have Alan Christian, mortgage guru, right?
Yeah.
Roswell, Georgia, right?
Right.
People mess that up and say Roswell, New Mexico a lot.
They do.
Yeah. Roswell, Georgia. You're an amazing mortgage guru. You're a dad, speaker, coach, influencer. But most of all, man, you're just one awesome dude. And I don't say that lightly because we've known each other for a number of years. So we're super excited that you're visiting us here in Kansas
Honored to be
City.
here.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Are you having a good time so far?
Fabulous time. Yeah. Awesome
awesome.
road trip. Met
Yeah.
some great people. Love Kansas City.
That's fantastic, man.
Yeah.
So what kind of cool stories? Because I know you've been on quite a bit of a road trip recently. So
First of all, how many miles have you traveled this
Right.
week?
900.
900?
Yeah. Not bad. But it's the majority of it's been 2-lane roads. And
On purpose, yeah.
On purpose. Because you get off the road and you meet small town America.
right.
And you get to meet really cool folks. So it's been fun.
Well,
There's
you were telling us a story earlier about you were on a country road and saw the dog in front of the house, and
This is what people miss, and this is what's super fun. I literally pulled off because I wanted to ride through the farmland where all the cornfields are, and I'm riding down 10 miles down the road in my nice car versus my truck, and there's a Labrador Retriever at the end of the driveway, big American flag, little horse fence, just something super cool. The dog's wagging its tail. I stopped the car and got out. And the dog came and played with me. It had a ball in the grass, brought it over, played with the ball. A few minutes later, the homeowner came down in a pickup truck, stopped and said hello, invited me to the house. I went up.
crazy.
I don't know this guy. Invited me to the house, went up and sat on the front porch with he and his wife and sat and told me about the farm, multi-generation, family-owned. Just, that's what it's about.
That is,
just
man.
super cool.
that is
There's a couple
Yeah.
things there. Number one, that you're taking the path less traveled.
Right.
I think there's a whole episode we could talk about that
Yeah.
to help people grow their mindset.
all
Right.
day long.
And number two, the hospitality of Midwesterners.
That is
That
true.
this
It's
guy
been nice.
came out and didn't come out with a shotgun saying, "Get off my lawn,
Right.
stop playing with my dog." It was, "Hey, how you doing?
Right.
Come inside, let's have a conversation."
Right.
Shock the house. What?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's have
Well-
a conversation.
Well, the thing is, obviously, it would have been cheaper and a lot quicker to take a flight, though, right?
Oh, totally.
Because I know when I was talking with you last week, I'm like, hey, man, when are you coming in? You're like, oh, I'm taking a road trip. And that even kind of took me aback. I'm like, oh, dang.
I wanted to do it on the
Exactly.
motorcycle, but
Yeah.
this time it was the car.
Yeah, exactly. But don't you think, looking at that, I mean, that's how you've handled your business over the years is you're a people person.
Right.
Like you love to get to know people. You love to help people.
Right,
Right.
right.
And that's one of the, big attributes that you have, not only coaching other loan officers in the business, helping your clients, your team and everything, but you come from a servant attitude. Right.
Correct, yeah.
So you come from that big heart, and people can tell. And you've been doing an amazing job. For those who might not know Alan yet, he does an amazing job on videos. Probably some of the best videos that I've seen. Whether it's business wise, but you've done quite a bit of things on Facebook and in your business. So talk a little bit about that. As like, what was that turning point in your business and just life that you're like, you know what, I'm going to share all these stories. I'm going to do all these road trips and just, kind of share it with everyone out there.
And you know this,
Yeah.
the interesting thing, Darren and I were in Las Vegas sitting outside by a swimming pool at an event 3 years
3
ago?
years, yep.
3 years ago.
Yep.
And it was a kind of turning point in my business. How do I get business? How do I generate it? And he said, you know what? You said it. You just need to go home and become the digital mayor of your town. Start sharing about who you are. Because I was sharing stories about myself, and you asked me, well, how many people know this about you?
Right.
I'm like, well, nobody. And I had the mindset I've got to do business a certain way. So that's not who you are. Be cool.
Right.
Go share who you are. And I got home, and I remember shooting the first video in town and got all these crazy responses of people that could resonate. could connect with me.
Right.
And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm onto something. And then realized I just need to share about who I am,
Right.
share a little bit about my community. And some of it is professional based for the mortgage industry, but it's about always be cool, just share who you are. And that's how it got started. And I have so much fun now doing it.
Right.
I do it in my sleep because it's just sharing your life. That's it.
Well, and I think one of the biggest things and why it's a huge success is, especially in today's day and age, like people are starving for, the good stuff in life, right? They want to hear good news. They want to hear the good stories, and you're sharing things that you're doing, people that, you're meeting. I remember one of the stories is you met a barber in one of the cities that was like not a normal place that you would probably be hanging out.
Right.
But you walked in and you're like, oh my gosh. And, and all the stories and his success and how he was just a huge fan of being in the United States. So, I mean, people gravitate, I'll call it being the light.
Right.
And you're the light, brother.
Yeah,
People
for
love
sure.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen today, Alan, you've been here and you came, hung out with our team today, just being good buddies and good friends. But I've seen you do 5 or 6 videos today, or video messages or live videos. That can be translated into any line of work, right? Any business.
Anything.
In terms of, especially those of in sales,
Right.
It's in such an impactful thing. Like you sat down, you did a video with me with one of your clients. You did a video with DC for somebody else.
Right.
That human connection, I think it ties right in with what you're talking about, taking the path less traveled, right? Doing these things that most people don't do. One time I had a leader when I was in the casino business, and he said, I challenge all of the team members. You all fall into the same traps, the same habits, the same path, the physical path every day that you park in, that you walk into the building, you take the same road into work every single day.
Yep.
I challenge you at least one day a week, take a different path, and it will change your mindset.
Right.
And it will keep you fresh. And I learned that 15 years ago, and I do it like 3 times a week. I take a different route into work just to have different scenery to see what I'm missing. I think that what you're experiencing or what you're doing every single day is a great example of how it's important to keep our eyes, keep our mind fresh, so that we don't become stagnant.
Right.
Exactly. Well, and one of the great things that you do, Alan, is you go to a bunch of different events, right? So you're always meeting new people. You're meeting coaches, people from around the world, and different experiences and things like that. And you're always taking that to improve your own personal mortgage business. Even self-improvement, right? Because I noticed something you posted the other day. I think it was on Sunday. You were like, "Hey, everyone, it's time to get up. It's time to get your, your physical health on." So that's really cool because you're a fantastic networker, right? And a lot of people, whether it's your realtor referral partners, your past database, dude, people know that you care. Right. So that's a massive, contribution that you give to other people.
And that right there is, people miss this. When I send out a message to somebody, there's no motive behind it except my gratitude to you. Majority of them is something related to you. Thank you for being you. Thanks for being my friend. Thanks for support. There's no ulterior motive behind anything that I send out except I appreciate you and you're special, and I want you to know that.
Right.
It's certainly a lost thing nowadays. It used to come in the form of written letters, right?
Correct.
Right.
And once written letters took way to, technology and emails, written letters went farther away. You can email and then text, and our conversation pieces became so minute and short. And not that texts and phone calls and emails can't be meaningful. But man, what a great tool nowadays with the technology to do a personalized video.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty special. We've invited each of our team members to do that. We focused 2 weeks ago to send videos of gratitude to friends, family, referral partners, team members, just to remind everybody that, hey, I appreciate you.
Right.
It's pretty special.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah, because we think about it, we forget to tell people all the time.
We do.
So
We do.
And a lot of people just don't see that in today's age. So
Right.
going out that way, and especially someone like yourself, you really don't have any other, ulterior motive behind that, right? So that, because I don't know if you remember doing this video, but a couple months ago, you put a video on Facebook and tagged me. You did a video about me.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And you're like, hey, I don't know if you know about DC, but he's blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, dude, that made me feel like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Yeah. Maybe I am pretty cool. No, right? But it makes you makes you feel good. So, all right. So talking about that, Mr. AC. We got a few questions here. So what would you say, what's one of the best compliments that you've ever received? So now we have questions for you that we didn't give you any time to prep for. This is what we like to
You
do.
know what? When I started sharing who I was, this is when things clicked for me, and this really hit. This is what I was truly trying to accomplish by sharing who I was, being my 3 terms is real, raw, and honest.
Right.
I had probably been on this journey for probably 9 months or so, and I had somebody reach out and send a message to me and they said, "Alan, I've never met you before, but I've been following you for about the last 7 or 8 months.
Wow.
And I've seen enough about you based on your post to know who you are, what matters to you, and what you represent."
Mm-hmm.
And then they literally asked, "Is there any way that I can get you to come into my office that I could introduce you to my team?"
That's
That
powerful.
that right there, like I have accomplished what I was trying to accomplish.
Right.
To share who I am, and they could see a little bit about my values and who I am. That was probably one of the greatest compliments I had.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
I mean, it just goes to show when you're real with people, that authenticity comes
Right.
through, and that does so much for not only business.
Oh, yeah.
That it could pay off in the end,
Right,
or down
right.
the road, but that's not why you are who you are.
Right.
It's not to gain business. Every single thing that we do every single day isn't about getting business. It's just about being cool,
Right.
right? And doing the right thing, treating people the way that you want to be treated, which is what ABC is.
That's it.
Right.
It's just
That's it.
live by the golden rule,
Right.
treat people the way that you want to be treated.
Right.
Just be kind and serve people.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And also that's a big thing, if we look at our younger selves, because like the next question is going back to your 18-year-old self, but if that's something that we would have known back in 18, right?
Oh my gosh.
Showing the gratitude and
Right.
just could you imagine, all these years later what that would have done, right?
Right.
So if you could go back to 18-year-old Alan Christian's self, like what would be one piece of advice that you would give yourself back in the day?
I was selfish back then. I was at 18, I was kind of wrapped up in myself. And it wasn't until later on in life that, a few events took place and I really realized how important everybody was.
Right.
And I would look back and say, every single person's got their own story.
Mm-hmm.
They've got their own issues. They got their own challenges. We walk a different path.
Right.
But we're all important. And most people, they just want to be recognized
Yep.
and made to feel important.
Yep.
And when I realized that, it changed my entire outlook on life completely.
Right.
So if I look back, that's probably one of the greatest things I could say to myself.
We had a good friend and a guest on the show a couple of weeks ago by the name of Les Norman, former Royals outfielder. What you just said is exactly what he said. He said, behind every face is a drama unfolding. Right?
We're all a bag of secrets.
We are.
Yep.
And we absolutely are. It's how
Right.
well can we hold it together.
It's truth.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It is truth. Like that's why how important grace is when you're dealing with people day in and day out.
Mhm.
You don't know what you're going through that today. You can have the happiest, most friendly person in every day of their life for 364 days.
Right.
But they might have the worst day of their life today, and they may not be the best version of themselves.
Right.
How important is it to give that person grace?
That's
Yep.
right.
And pick
That's
them
right.
up.
Yep.
Yep. Exactly.
For sure.
The person beside you can be literally in the fight for their life, and you don't know it.
Yep.
And the way you respond could make a difference.
We've all been there when we wanted to make a difference
And
in people's
we've been
lives.
there where I was the guy.
Needed help.
And I needed that.
Absolutely.
And I've had that phone call or a stranger said hello to me. I'm like, that was the one I needed at this moment.
Right.
So we do the same thing.
That's awesome. Man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Because I know you have no fear, no qualms going up and talking to strangers.
Right.
And has it always been that way?
Honestly, it's a
Learned skill.
yes.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me about that, and years ago, and this is a whole nother story. I trained myself to do this. I mean, I'm really an extroverted introvert.
Okay.
Truthfully,
Sounds familiar.
I'm really an
Same way.
extroverted
Yep.
introvert.
Yep.
But can I walk into a stranger? Because here's what I found out: there was a period of my life that I was lonely. There was a period of my life that I was depressed.
Right.
And I know what that feels like. And I know what it feels like to be in a room and be totally ignored. But I also know what it feels like to be in a room and somebody look at you and just say hello when you beam up.
Right.
So when I'm living my life doing what I do, I've found out that if I smile at somebody and say hello, give them a little
contagious.
accomplishment,
Yeah.
ask them about something about them. 99% of the time, they light up like a light bulb.
Yeah.
And then it's just, how long do I want to talk to them?
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. And they think you're the most awesome guy ever, and all you did is just ask
And I
them
talked
questions.
about them the whole time.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So here's something really cool that maybe a lot of people listening to this don't know about. So give us a little background, a little story. And BK, I don't know if you know this, but
Uh-oh.
tell us a little bit, because you used to be, and probably still are, don't take that wrong, but amazing athlete.
Oh yeah, I
Right?
know this. I know this. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So Olympic trials. So tell everyone how awesome that
Ah,
Alan Christian still
there's-
is.
you know, we
Hey, bro,
have-
we've seen the pictures. Okay, you were buff.
We have different phases of life.
And another attribute
my
you'd say he has is
my
very
kids
humble.
don't even, my kids don't even know those parts of my life. I was
Right.
competitive
They will now.
bodybuilder for a while. That was the fun stuff. I look back and say, man, if I knew then what I know now, I probably would have walked around and lifted my shirt up and showed my abs all the time, which was fun. But then I did get into, I was an Olympic weightlifter. And I didn't make the Olympics, but a bunch of my friends did. And I trained with those. Was on the national level.
Well, hold on a
I did
second.
all that stuff.
When you say you didn't make the Olympics,
Yeah.
you were training for the Olympics.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you were,
yeah.
brother, you
Yeah,
were there.
Yeah, I was a nationally ranked, one of the top lifters.
Right.
So I truly ran with very, very elite people.
Yeah.
So I saw what that commitment was. I saw what it took to get there. I saw the goods and the bads it's in everything. But yeah, that was a wonderful period of life.
Oh my
But also
gosh.
about sacrifice to get somewhere. And I gave up things that a lot of friends didn't understand at the time. But I did everything that I could at the moment. And it's great memories to look back on. And it's fun to send pictures to people every once in a while.
Well, and the thing is, like, if we would have been, a little bit ahead of the game, we would have had a big old poster printed off.
Well, if this didn't
Right.
come about in the last couple, today,
Oh, yeah.
impromptu podcast.
Exactly.
I want to stay on that topic. So you're talking about sacrifice. You're talking about seeing the journey that it would take to accomplish this ultimate goal, right?
Right.
So let's talk about that in terms of generalities, whether it's in business or personal goals or familial goals, relationship goals, right? The sacrifice that's needed to accomplish something that's so very important to you, whether it's income, whether it's relationships, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a friendship, whatever it is. Like, talk to us, share with the audience kind of what it takes. We always give and this will get you started. We always talk about the iceberg, the success iceberg, right? The tip is what everybody sees. That's the success.
Right.
But nobody sees down below the water level, the sleepless nights,
Oh, it's all that.
all the sacrifice, the rejection. So maybe talk a little bit on some of these things that you've experienced in your personal life, in business, and what it takes to accomplish great feats.
Now, I learned discipline at a very early age, and I've always felt like I'm much more disciplined than the average person because things also didn't come easy to me. So I knew I had to really work hard to make something happen. And it was just one of those things that it was a major inner drive for me. And the sacrifice of saying, no, I'm not going to the party, or I'm not going to go to even the family event, because I realized for me to get to that point, and I had family members kind of make fun of me, like, hey, you can have a piece of pie at Thanksgiving. I'm like, no, I can't. But I had to make those sacrifices to do that. And then it translated the same thing. And I look on the business world now. Show me somebody that was, ex-military. Show me somebody that was an Eagle Scout. Show me somebody that was a high-level athlete.
Right.
I know at some point in their life, they know what sacrifice is. They know what it means to do without food, wake up at 4:30 in the morning, not go on vacation because you're trying to train or prepare or plan for something. Those are the folks who are actually going to get something accomplished. It's just that inner drive to go in and say, and it's about discipline, and it is about sacrifice.
Right.
But it puts you in a place that other folks will never get there. Then you're lucky.
Yeah.
Then you're lucky.
That's our pet peeve is when you're lucky. But you learn that discipline at a very early age, which is amazing, right? Because we all know there are certain friends and family along the way that might not be your biggest cheerleader. Right?
Let me tell you why. This is a whole other topic. There's a challenge with I live in a nice area now. There's a challenge with a term called affluenza. Kids that are given everything.
Affluenza.
Yep.
I didn't have anything as a kid. My parents didn't buy me a bicycle. They didn't buy me a new car. If I wanted something, I had to get it. So I grew up with grit in my teeth.
Sure.
If I wanted something, I had to go earn it. And I look at some of my most successful friends. They didn't grow up in wealthy families. The majority of them grew up with nothing. A lot of them are immigrants, not a college education, blue collar parents. And they said, if I'm going to get out of this or have a different life, I've got to go fight my way through and do it. And that was a major part of what I did.
Yep.
And a lot of my friends were the exact same way.
Yep,
Here's what I
exactly.
love about this podcast and the people that are on it is the people that are on it are successful. Okay.
Right.
Today they're successful. But that story is the same story
Oh, yeah.
We hear that
that
over
everyone
and
tells
over. Yep.
that I grew up with nothing or I
Yeah.
grew up with in an abusive household, let alone nothing. I grew up with
Right.
somebody actually trying to take it away from me
Yeah.
or
Right.
keep me down.
That was the fight. That
And-
was the grit in the teeth.
Right.
Yeah. I'm going to prove
Absolutely.
you wrong. I'm going to make it through this in spite of all. And sometimes that is the anger can be healthy when channeled
direct,
correctly.
yeah,
Right.
channeled.
When direct,
It could be a massive motivation.
It can be.
Right.
Yeah.
When it's used in a good way.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like when you were younger, you had the six pack, you could show your abs. Now, Alan, if you go around and lift your shirt now, you might
Not doing
you
that
might
now.
get a little trouble. People might make a phone call, so be careful on that.
Choose your audience.
Right.
Choose wisely, right? But the thing is, you can never replace. There's, I know, we all went to college, but there's not any education that can teach you that fire, right? And here we are, decades
adversity,
later.
pain, hunger. That's the stuff. No pain, no gain. And I do believe that you can grow out of diversity. You can grow out of hunger. You need that. If life is easy, what's the drive?
Is there
I'm more concerned with my friends that are now very successful,
Comfortable.
because
Right.
their kids have not had to do what their
Yeah.
parents did.
Trust
and
me, I know, yeah.
generationally, it's going to end.
Yeah.
It's going to go a cycle. All of a sudden, it's out. So I'm more
Right.
concerned about that. And I tell my friends, don't buy your kids a $78,000 Jeep. You know who I'm talking to. You don't. It's,
We're gonna
you
send this
can't-
directly
You
out
can't.
to
You
them.
can't. You just can't.
No.
I just don't. Even though how great, I think there's something about
Right.
having to fight and earn that and value the dollar, value the work, value the effort put forward, and then see a true result that you earned,
Right.
not a participation award. It's a
Exactly.
whole different deal.
It's the same thing as if you gifted me a 68 Camaro today. I'm going to love it and I'm going to think it's badass.
Right.
But there's no way in heck that I'm going to appreciate it like I would if I purchased it and
No way.
earned it on my own.
That's right. No way. No way.
Yeah. That pride of ownership.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great though. But isn't it interesting? No matter who we have on the podcast,
same.
it's the
Right.
same journey. Something along the line has motivated them to kind of push through and go through the other side. We always hear about, the story of the crabs. Where you have a crab that's trying to crawl out of the bucket, right? And then all the other crabs are trying to grab a hold and
Yep.
pull them back in. And again, I tell my son this: it doesn't matter if you're in your teens or you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever that is. There's always going to be people in life, and sometimes it is family that are just going to try to pull you back in.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
We always say, for our team members, anybody in our circle, we're always going to be holding pom-poms on the sideline.
Sure.
No
Yeah.
one is going to cheer louder for you than us. And our buddy Les Norman, again, another Les
Yeah.
quote, he said, they're not always holding pom-poms. Sometimes they're holding pepper spray.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
A lot of times, and I think you told me this, actually you did, and that's the first time I really heard it. Your friends really are not cheering on your success. You'll hit a certain point, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden,
Some of them.
they stop clapping for
Yeah.
you.
I
It's
always
a different
say,
feel.
I always say, when you score a touchdown, look around and see who's not clapping.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
This
but
conversation today.
that's the most important thing, right? Is hang out with people who lift you up.
Right.
No matter what.
We call them elevator people.
people, yeah.
These are the people that lift you up. Basement people are the ones that pull you down.
That's right.
Basement people are the crabs, the basement crabs.
Exactly.
Pulling them down in the bucket.
Elevator people jump in their car and drive from Georgia up to Kansas City and come
Right.
hang out
That's
with
right.
us.
That's right.
That's awesome.
So we were talking about adversity, right? And how it has kind of propelled successful people a lot of times to just always have that grit, right? Is there anything that you can think of or that you don't mind sharing that was a true hurdle in your life that you said, this could absolutely tear me down, or I can use this as a jet engine to propel myself forward?
I had one event happen, and I didn't realize how it really impacted me. I don't want to cry, but I may. I had a close friend of mine commit suicide. We hunted together. He wound up hanging himself in the cabin, and he called me probably within an hour of doing it, and I didn't know that. And what happened was, when I went to the funeral, all these people kept coming up saying, "Who's this Alan Christian guy? Who's this Alan Christian guy?" He had compartments of friends. He knew a ton of people, but
Right.
compartments. I didn't know him. And what I didn't know was I was his best friend. I didn't know
You
that.
were his best friend.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I kind of had some guilt from that. But what it made me do was, and this is part of me being real, raw, and honest and being vulnerable and sharing with people. Somebody saw me one day in the church parking lot and knew I had some things going on in my life I was struggling with. And they came up and said, "Hey, Alan, how you doing?" I said, "Oh, everything's fine, blah, blah." Yeah, the typical fine. And fine is, fine is a four-letter word
Right.
in reality.
Right.
But he paused and looked at me and said, "No," I asked, "How are you doing?" And he broke through, and I started crying.
Yeah.
And it made me realize that point, it made me stop and say, I could have made a difference potentially in that person or my friend that day. So when I'm out living my life and doing something, I want to be cool. I want to be nice to people, because I don't know if my friend or that stranger may be having a bad day.
Right.
And if I can be cool, if I can be nice in that exact 4-second moment checking out of the restaurant or in line, maybe I made a small difference in their life. So that moment, as tragic as it was, did and does change the way I react to people around me. Because I don't know.
And it's free to do,
Ab-
right?
absolutely.
It's absolutely free to be cool,
Right,
right? Because again, everyone's fighting a battle,
right,
some way, somehow. If we're all being honest,
Right.
And that few seconds of someone caring and actually listening, you could either save a life,
You don't
right?
know.
Or just make their day better. You just never know.
I think at the end of the day, I may be the only person that really spoke to them. Or I may at the end of the day, somebody gives me a compliment. I'm like, "You made my day."
Yeah.
You really did.
Right.
And maybe I do that for somebody.
Right.
And I get jazzed. That makes me feel good by doing something cool for them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
So on the flip side, first of all, thank you for sharing that. On the flip side, who in your life or what in your life was something that was so positive and so uplifting that it, again, did nothing but help you? Someone in your life that was really influential.
right. Outside of Darren Copeland and Bobby Kerr.
Dude, I'll tell
that
you,
person?
here's the thing. This is the answer. I'm a believer. And when I found out about grace in my life, and I said this kind of joking, I'm a bag of secrets too. I've got a lot of things in my life that are going great, and I got stuff that's falling apart, and I found out that we all do.
Yeah.
And we're not perfect.
We do.
And I'm forgiven.
Right.
I've got grace. And that one word sometimes is thrown out too flippantly in society, but it means a lot to me.
Well, it's your foundation, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because when everything else is crumbling around, we're all humans, right?
Right.
But you got to have that foundation to go back to, right? That faith that everything's going to be okay. Because we as humans, we're going to mess it up, right?
Every time.
Right. We're just going to mess it up. I don't understand why. I just can't go hear a message and have that every single day,
time,
right?
right,
All the
right.
time, right? So, but that's good, man. That's good because
Yeah.
you got to have that as we all go through, the tough times. It's just like baseball. We're huge baseball fans, and the minute you think you have baseball figured out, you got a ground ball that goes through your legs. You're like, what the heck?
I've been doing that. I've done it a million times since I was 5 years old.
Right.
I don't miss that.
How come I decided I can't hit anymore?
Right.
It's just you never know. But you always have to keep reinforcing that. Right. Again, being around positive people.
Yep.
Being a believer, which is massive. So that's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I do love the term grace, though, and I've personally used it at times. Like if DC and I are working on something, and let's say something heavy comes in life, and you mentioned something really heavy with your friend in the cabin, and Allison and I have dealt with that twice in the last year, and once in the last week, and behind every face is a drama unfolding,
Absolutely.
and we're dealing with some heavy drama, and it sucks.
Right.
There's no better way to put it, but with grace, and during heavy times in life, I've even said to DC, like, hey, this is just going to take a little extra time. I need some grace.
Exactly.
You know, and it is important to not use that term flippantly, but when it's used in the proper way, what is he going to say besides, dude, I love you, absolutely,
Right.
It's all good,
Right.
right?
Right.
And I think that might be the theme of this
I love it.
episode is
Grace.
the importance and the weight of grace.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that, man. That's why we love doing this podcast. You
know.
just never know what's
This is
gonna
completely
come
on the
out.
fly. That's what's so badass about
I know,
this.
right? Exactly.
Hey, Alan, can you come in and sit down? I'm like, sure, let's roll.
What do you want to talk about? We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
No, don't worry.
You
Don't
got
worry.
some other random questions you want to ask?
Well, I've got some randoms, but how are we doing on time? Are we getting
We're-
close? Probably.
Yeah, let's wrap it up in 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay, so here's one that we always like to ask. Okay, so Alan, what's one question that you wish we would have asked
During this
and
podcast.
during this podcast, and how would you have answered?
gosh.
Right. So this is a good one. So what's one question that you wish we would have asked you?
Oh man, I
Trust
don't.
me,
I
we stump each other on these all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
don't-
reword it.
I don't-
What would
I
you
don't-
like to talk about that's open-ended? That's essentially the same thing.
What would you like to share to the millions of people listening in on this podcast?
Millions and millions.
You know, here's probably the thing that resonates and I get asked about all the time. Be you. Be the best version of you every single day. I was raised thinking I've got to go to a certain school. I've got to dress. Look at that hair, dude, and I'm jealous.
Right.
I got to dress a certain way. I got to act a certain way. I got to talk a certain way. And when I realized, you know what? Be the best version of you. Be
Right.
who you are. Be real, raw, and honest. Be vulnerable with people around you, and you will find people that will connect with you, that will like you. And that may be wearing your ball cap backwards. It may be in a custom suit. It may be, and I'm a chameleon. I can go anywhere and talk to meet anybody.
Yep.
But probably the biggest thing is find out who you really are and be honest about that.
Dude, I love that. We have conversations with people, whether it's in business, interviews, whatever, but one of the hardest conversations is just being honest with yourself,
Oh yeah,
right?
that's hard. That's
What
hard.
it is. It's not all these expectations that have been set through society, your family, your friends. It's not about them because they're not thinking about you all the time.
Right,
It's about what makes you happy,
right,
right? If you want to jump on a motorcycle and ride around the country and everything's taken care of, awesome,
right.
right? Go do it. Don't worry
Right.
about what other people are
The
thinking.
template
right?
is not the same.
Oh, it's
No,
not.
no, it's not.
And the thing about that is for whatever reason, society makes us feel like we have to be a certain way. And then you're not being true to yourself. And 20 years go by and you look back and like, why did I do that? I really was not happy. And then when you let go and say, this is who I am. And you find, and I say this because I've got people that are uber successful.
Right.
And it's not about the suit they wear.
Nope.
It's not about the shoes they have. It's not about any of that.
It's not about the money.
It's not. And that is the thing when I got a little older in life, I look back and says, wait a minute, he doesn't hold his fork right at the table.
Mm-hmm.
His hair's too long. He's got a tattoo. He drives a junky car. That's not what matters.
Right.
It's all the other things around it, but who's happy? It's about
Right.
being you.
Don't you wish we knew that when we were 18?
Oh my gosh.
You know, that plus the elevator people, not basement people. I look back and I look over the last 20 years, 20 to 40, the times I was surrounded with people that weren't necessarily my champions,
Right.
Yeah.
and how much did that hold me back,
Right.
Just by having a few people in my life that said, do you really want to be that person? Like,
Right.
come hang down here with me.
Right.
Right.
Like,
Well, the great thing is about, with getting older comes experience, right?
Yeah, wisdom.
So
Yeah.
now you can just pick it out.
Yeah.
Like really, really quickly. And that's the one thing that we need to share, with other people. Just be yourselves. And even like with the younger kids that we have, whether nieces
And be
nephews,
yourself, but
Yep.
always be improving yourself.
always.
Don't just settle. I'm here at
No.
20 years old. I'm not going to get better. I'm always trying to be a better person. I'm always trying to grow and stretch myself.
lifelong learner.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because you're a big believer. You've got a great morning routine that you do every
Right.
single morning.
Mm-hmm.
always improving yourself,
Always.
mentally, physically,
Spiritually, all of
spiritually,
it.
all of it.
Yeah.
Here's a good way to put a bow on it. In that post that you did, this just came to me. The post you said, or you posted a couple days ago, you just brought it up and you said, like, what's something that you're doing to improve your
Physically.
physical health?
Right.
So share with the audience what's something that you're doing these days.
You know, I'm disciplined, and I don't work out like I used to.
Sure.
But it's about habits. It's about routines. It's about having the same thing consistently over and over. You don't have to go to the gym for an hour.
Right.
It can be 10 minutes. But yeah, I mean, gosh,
Just
since
do
I-
something.
Since I was in probably 5th grade, 4th grade, I've always done something physical.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
still to this day go to the gym, get up and run, go ride the bike, go do yoga.
Right.
It's just something about when that part of my life is doing well or feeling good, I stay on track.
And this tends to follow it.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's one of the pieces to the puzzle.
Dude, it was so cool to have you on
Man,
this, man.
Thanks, AC.
You're awesome, bro.
Always
Love
be
you, man.
cool, baby.
Always be
That's
cool.
right. All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Check us out anywhere you can find podcasts on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Instagram, Facebook, at Always Be Cool Pod. Take care, guys.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.